Hello everybody and welcome to DS Podcast. It's great to have you back on this channel. It's great to introduce you to this video. I've just been to the cinema to watch this film. It's my time for my review of... Yes, I've just been to see Fantastic Four at the cinema, Marvel's latest addition to the MCU. Now, how would I describe this movie in a sentence? I'll tell you what I'm going to say. Marvel is back, baby! Oh yes! Yes, I think recently, we've seen Thunderbolts and now we've just seen Fantastic Four. And I'm telling you right now, Marvel is officially back where it belongs, right at top tier. Thunderbolts, great movie. Really, really great movie. I loved what they did with the characters, the storyline, the arc was great. But this film, I think, tops it even more. I just think it was fantastic. It was so good. I'm going to try and do this video in a way where we're not going to give spoilers away until later on in the video. So, because if you're watching this, you're going to expect spoilers. So, I'll let everyone know at what point I'm going to reveal spoilers. But I'm going to try and do the first part in a way where we don't give too much away. And we just talk about the film as a whole. And where we saw the character development and the acting and the effects. Moving on to the casting. Marvel, you've done it again. It was top tier. I was a bit apprehensive at first with some people, like Pedro Pascal. He just seems to be the hot ticket in town. And part of me wondered whether he'd been given the role because he was the best Reed Richards and the best Fantastic addition, or whether it's because he was Pedro Pascal. Shot me down. Whether he was brought in because he was Pedro Pascal, but even if he was, he excelled in the role. He was terrific. Vanessa Kirby, I thought, was sensational as Sue Storm. She was perfect. The matriarchal role that she took in this film, which I just felt was so needed from her, and you can clearly see that she is the character that holds this team together. She's the one where they all go on different tangents throughout, but she's the one that holds them firm and gets them through the nitty-gritty parts. The Thing, terrific. I thought he was so good. The way they arced his story was phenomenal. I really liked him. The CGI on him was terrific. I think we can see a guy that had good humour, is this big muscly bloke, but we saw elements of him being human. And effectively that's where we're at with the Fantastic Four. They're humans that went into space and came back with supernatural powers. And we could clearly see that even though he's this big rock guy and he's adapted to this lifestyle, there were still moments where you could see the inner human of him coming out or wanting to come out further. And then we get into the star of the show. Johnny Storm, Joseph Quinn, stole the show. He was fantastic. And I'm going to use that word a lot, not just because it's the title of the film, but because they've earned it. He was unbelievable. I think the way that he came into the role, and I hadn't seen a lot of him. You know, I've known him from Stranger Things. I've never really watched Stranger Things, but I've known him for being in that, and I've seen that he's been in a couple little things here and there, but nothing on a grand scale of being such an iconic character. But he took on the role perfectly. We saw him have that fun, banterful side and that sort of playful younger brother vibe. But we also saw the side of him where he wanted to take his family under his wing. He wanted to do right by his family, and he worked hard to become that character. The blend of these characters was great. So Marvel, top tier to the casting. They got it spot on. The actors that played the roles were phenomenal. Now, we spoke about the actors, but I think next up we should talk about the arc of the movie and how this movie came into the MCU and brought me to a love for these characters that the original films didn't have me at. I think the way I would describe this film is charming. I felt charmed by this film, and I think the pacing, and I know a lot of people have spoke about the pacing of the film, but I thought it was spot on. I like the way they manoeuvred through the time scale of it. The 5-minute montage at the beginning where they explained, this is the Fantastic Four, this is where we're at with them, this is how they became the Fantastic Four. And for Marvel fans that know who these characters are, it was a perfect summary. For people that would come into this not knowing anything about the Fantastic Four, who'd come away from that montage at the beginning going, I know who these characters are. I know how they became where they were. I know exactly how they adapted to this lifestyle. And when it finally kicks off into, this is the movie and this is where we're going, you felt like you've known these characters for years. And I think that is down to very, very clever writing, because as soon as we kick off into a scene with the whole family, already I felt like I'd watched these on screen for 2 or 3 films beforehand. Not this is the first time I've ever seen them. The warmth that I got from these 4 not being a team that have been brought together as a family, genuine family, you know, Reed and Ben, best friends, Johnny and Sue, brother and sister, blending together, and you can clearly see that there's a love for these characters between each other and why they are where they are. And I think people have, one thing I've heard a lot of people say is with Ben, we didn't get a lot of the thing. But I think what people have to remember with this is the montage happened, and the montage was basically what's happened in the past 4 years with this Fantastic Four. They became the Fantastic Four, they went up in space, they got these powers, and now they're defending the Earth. And we got the little montage, which I thought was great to see cameos from Red Ghost and Giganto and previous villains that they faced. And so you've seen a world in a montage where you've gone, this is where we're at with them. And I think with that comes the adapting to these new skills and beings they've become. And I think Ben's the one that would have suffered the most from that, obviously, because he goes to space as a human and comes back as a rock monster. And I think a lot of people said we saw moments of him going, I wish I was a human, but we didn't see a lot of it. Well, I think that was right, because you're looking at it from his point of view. In the past 4 years, those moments would have been happening, especially at the beginning. It would have been an acceptance of him becoming a rock monster, and there would have been hate and frustration with that as well. That's all happened. So to have a scenario 4 years down the line and him to be punching walls going, I don't want to be this and I don't want to be that. You know, at the end of the day, he's not going to be doing that. But I thought the moments we got from him where we went, it's clearly still a human becoming this, and there's clearly a want for him to not be fully that version of himself. He seems very comfortable in himself, but we saw flickerings of looking at him as a human on the TV, it flicks off and he's the rock monster. We saw moments where obviously he's with the school teacher where there's clearly a bit of chemistry there, but in his heart mind going, it's never going to work because I'm this and she's that. And those moments, because they were so minor and such a flicker in the movie, they almost hit me a bit more because of that. So I thought his story was fantastic. And I think we've got to the point now in this episode where we're going to start dropping in spoilers of this movie through moments to get the best out of this as a reaction. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, this is the time to switch off. But yeah, I think as we spoke about with Ben as the thing, when obviously you find out that she's pregnant, again, it comes back to they did such a good job with clever writing, Marvel, where they put us in a position where we were going, we've literally seen these characters on the screen for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden now we're feeling with these characters. Like we knew from just one line, it was, we've been trying for 2 years, it's not happened, we're finally pregnant. Like, wow, Reed and Sue, it was such a loving moment of, wow, it's finally made it. And then when they get round the table, it's like, you're never late for dinner. And you see his face looking at her across the table, going, I feel the pain that you've had every time you've taken a test and it's been negative. I feel the want that you want for this baby. you're pregnant, aren't you? And you could see this love from him going, it's happened. And the joy, obviously, from him and Johnny was just beautifully executed from Marvel. And that's where I feel like the characterizations were perfect. And the montage did at the beginning such good justice to the film because it lured us in with these characters. It gave us a backstory and origin. It gave us where we're at. And it made us believe the moments when they came across so instant in the film. It made us believe that, wow, that this is a genuine thing that we cannot believe is happening. Like, she's been trying. And we haven't had 2 or 3 films where you can clearly see the frustration lying. It's just there. And it's beautifully done by Marvel and very cleverly executed and written. And again with Johnny, you see this lovable rogue of this big brother going, yeah, I'm going to take you on, sis. Well, not big brother, but younger brother. But being like, I'm going to take you on and we're going to do this and you're going to be the best mum and you're out of your depth and that kind of thing. And that banter that you had. And I love what Reed was, which is where I think, Pedro Pascal did a great job. In those moments, he didn't go back and go, really, like that kind of thing. He was a bit like, this is a bit too much, Johnny. Whoa, I'm a bit out of it. And then you get Ben going, you're right, mate. And that's where you get the best mate come in. Like, he's not just joined because he's a thing. He's joined because he's with them because he's their best mate. He's basically his brother to Reed. And you go, beautiful, beautiful. Like in a moment where happiness is, you get him going, you're right, mate. You okay? You'll be all right. And it's that beautiful, moment. And then obviously you get H.E.R.B.I.E preparing. And H.E.R.B.I.E, can we just have a shout out for H.E.R.B.I.E? H.E.R.B.I.E was wonderful and beautifully done and just a gorgeous character on the side. And I really hope that's not the last we see of him. But obviously at that point we see the news going out. There's going to be another member of the Fantastic Four. Here we are. And all of a sudden we have that moment of Reed going, there's got to be something wrong with him. We're doing tests. And again, you see his fragile side come out going, that overprotective father figure. I just want him to be all right. I want to make sure that we're okay. I want to make sure that you're okay. And almost Sue going, we're all right. We're all right. And again, I think the first few minutes of it was just pure beauty from the characters forming together. And even though the first 10 minutes weren't action and crazy and moments, it was just a beautiful, simple blend of getting us in line with the characters and making us fall in love. So immediately when it hits the fan and we've got to go, right, now we've got to see them in business, we've seen a team, we've seen a family, and now we can enjoy the movie and we don't have to worry about setting up any characters or anything. They're just perfectly done. I think the storyline, let's move on to that. Now, I think with this movie as well, as we were talking about the storyline, I think the story, realistically, is very simple. It's a very, very simple storyline. It's a very simple executed movie. And that is what Marvel should be. It has got way overcomplicated where I've been watching movies and instead of sitting back and being like, I'm ready to be entertained, I'm sitting trying to work out things. And there were subtle hints and little Easter eggs where you wanted to pay attention to go, right, okay, I can see that links to there and that links to there. And of course, the link to Doom early on in the film. If you're all complaining now that I spoiled it, I did say spoilers, but coming in. But they're little subtle hints throughout where I go, yeah, you could see that you could concentrate, but you could sit back and relax and enjoy the movie, which I think is exactly what makes Marvel Marvel and why it congregated the fan base that it's got. Marvel can be complicated and exciting, but it can also be simple and effective, such as, looking back at previous Spider-Man movies, looking back at previous Guardians movies to an extent, simple stories, but make perfect executed movies. And I think the premiere is obviously Galactus is coming to Earth. He's been marked by, he's marked Earth for death and he's coming. And let's just have an appreciation for Silver Surfer. Ooh, yeah, you go, girl. Yeah, she was quality. So good. And again, we're going on the Thing CGI. The CGI on her, spotless, flawless. And I love the way that we had the Johnny banter with him going, is it part of the board or is it separate? And I love that. I love that side of him coming out and thinking she's fit. And I love the fact that they had her as this, villain at the start, but the fact that Johnny didn't take her too seriously. He was more going, she's a bit all right. She is, yeah. It was that kind of thing of going, yeah, I fancy her and I like her. And I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was beautifully done with him being that character in that moment. And obviously you see he comes to Earth. Well, not even come to Earth, but he's here and marked her for death. And the four go, right, we're going to go and sort this out. One thing that I went, okay, would it happen in real life or is it executed just for this movie? Is Sue goes, well, we're going to go. And she's 8.5 months pregnant. She's about to pop. And she's going up to space to stop this Earth-eating god. And in moments you sit there and go, would you in that position go, I might sit this one out. You guys go and sort it out. You're more than capable. But then you go, but they're not the four without her. And she's that matriarchal leader within that team that holds the team like glue. So they need her there. They go up. Silver Surfer comes over and goes, you shouldn't have come. This is a bad idea. And then Galactus sees that she's pregnant, sees Franklin has this superpower within him and goes, I want him. I want the baby. I'll take the baby for the planet. And then you go, what? So Franklin is important to the story. And obviously what happens is they go, nope, we're not accepting that deal. It's too high a price. We'll not be giving you our son, but we're not going to give you the Earth as well. Galactus kicks off. Silver Surfer goes after. They get away. And end up back on Earth. She has the baby, which I thought was a great scene because I think you see moments of her being like, no, I want to help and I can't. I mean, she's giving birth and she's making the ship invisible. Slay Queen! Never saying that again. But I thought that the moments in that was like, come on, John. And it was just prime Marvel. And in very Guardians humour, where you've got this team that are so close that even in peril moments, they can take the mickey out of each other and they can have a go at each other and joke and things like that. And that's where Marvel comes in because you go, Johnny can go, I'm shooting sexy aliens. And Ben's going, come on, sort it out and things like that. But they're in peril. And that's where Marvel just executes that beautifully. And that's why I think it's a very Marvel's back movie. And obviously they get home and they immediately arrive and everyone's excited. They've gone off to defeat Galactus. They've come back. They've got the baby. It seems like it's a perfect scenario for the planet to go, yes, we've got a new fantastic member and we're safe. And obviously they go into the press conference and they go, are we safe? And I thought this scene was so cleverly done. And do you know what? I've seen people complain about this. And I've heard people complain, obviously, Mr. Fantastic, Reed, goes up and he goes, did you defeat Galactus? A bit of stuttering. And then you have 3 different reactions of 3 boys that clearly don't know how to deal with the media. And that is where Sue is sort of at the back going, this is usually my job, but I'm just giving birth and I don't know what I'm doing and my baby is essential to this. What do we do? Because you get 3 different reactions of Ben going, we didn't. Matter of fact, we didn't. Panic station straight away. And then Johnny, that sort of upbeat going, not yet. And then Reed going, he asked for too high a price, but didn't say it. So you've got 3 answers from 3 people of the team where the media are going to go, but what? And then he turns around and makes the ultimate boo-boo, which is, he said he'd spare the Earth for our son, and we said no. And then the media do exactly what the media would do. They throw panic in the air and go, what? Like, no, that's out, no. One life doesn't mean everything. And then it goes back to that sort of, very much that Vision in Infinity War moment where you go, we don't trade lives. One life is just as important as 6 other million people. Whereas from modern people, if this ever happened, you'd go, yeah, yes, losing that person would be bad, but keeping 6 billion other people alive is infinitely better. And one critic I've seen, which I very much disagree with, is where people turn around and go, he's the smartest man alive. He wouldn't say that in a press conference. Well, this is where I think Pedro Pascal did a beautiful job as Reed Richards, because he showed he was the smartest man alive when it comes to his physics and science and all those kind of things. But put him on the spot in front of someone, he's not a people person. He got it wrong. It was a bit like deer in the headlights. And I think that shows that he's human. It shows that he's human. He's not this supernatural being that's crazy clever. He's human. And the best thing is, the quote is, to err is human. And he erred. He went, well, they did it. Oh, shouldn't have said that. And that's the worst thing you could say. They could have just gone, they asked for something, we'll come back with a statement later. Not in the moment going, blah, blah, blah. But then again, you've just come back, you've had to deal with your wife just having a baby, you've got a new son, you've just had a God tell you that your son is an alien and wants to have it. All these things are rushing in. The last thing he wanted to do immediately when he gets back is go and stand in front of the press. And then obviously you hear the thing where he goes, are we safe? And he goes, I don't know. And at that point, the media, fear would come in. We've seen not just in Marvel movies, but even in other movies, when fear comes in of a worldwide thing, fear-mongering comes in and everyone starts kicking off and riots happen and all of a sudden it ends up being this big drama. And the way that the media went towards them was obviously, from their perspective, the right thing to do. And it would absolutely happen if a scenario ever happened like this in the real world now. It's absolutely the truth. And you can see, Sue at the back going, this isn't exactly how I deal with the situation. I wouldn't do this at all. What are we doing? We've just thrown our family under the bus. We're going to get it all now. And that diplomatic, matriarchal vibe of her being lost in that moment. And I think in moments like that, and I think another moment coming up that we're going to talk about is obviously the confrontation that her and Reed have about the fact that when they're seeing the media and the world kicking off at them, and Reed goes, they've got a point, from not they've got a point, but he goes, from their perspective, they've got every right to feel it's available, it's ethical, and it's, I can't remember the other word for it he said, but it's easy to do. You hand over the kid, we're all right. And so he says that, and then obviously that in a maternity goes, you're considering it, you've considered it. And the reality is, you don't have to be a perfect dad you don't have to be an evil dad to think that. Everyone would go, but if we did. And that's all it takes. And that's when Reed says that my job is to think of these scenarios. And it has to be in a scenario we think of, because otherwise we're all gone. And obviously you see her go, right, we're going to handle this. And I thought the powerful stance she took, heading out in front of the people. And in moments I was like, don't go out there. No cops, don't go out there. You're going to get the baby taken away. And people going, she's selfish. And then she just delivers the most beautiful speech where she goes, look, we didn't handle the first press conference very well. We didn't explain ourselves very well. We're not prepared to give up our child, but we're not prepared to give up the planet. We will fight with this, as you guys will, together with us as a family. And then you see the change and you just go, that's what they needed. They needed that matriarchal moment and that female power to go, here we go. This is where we're going. I'm here for this. Obviously, from that moment, it goes, move heaven and earth. And Reed goes, I've got it. Why don't we move the earth? And at that moment, my brain started going, 616, 616. And it wasn't. Getting way too overexcited, but it was. And that was another moment when they were in a ship and he was like, get us where? Anywhere. And I was like, 616, 616. And it was like the scene out of Monsters Inc. where he's like, 2319. We got a 2319. I just kept going to the cinema, 616. 616! It was mad. But obviously that's us as fans getting way too carried away with it. And again, we move forward, they have this idea, and they're going to drain all the power, they're going to move the earth, we're going to work together, dig our things. One criticism I've got, and it's very minor, but that shows how good a film it is. They're at a point where they're going 8 p.m. blackout, no power, and then we're going to launch it and we're going to move the earth. But yet everyone's watching on their telly. So everyone's turning the lights off but going, yep, turn the lights off but keep the tellies on. We need all the power in the world, but we've got enough power to move a planet, but also keep your tellies on to watch it. And that was a bit of a gripe for me. And that's where you go, I lost a bit of the reality there. And I lost a bit of the moment of, this world doesn't make sense to me. But again, and then Silver Surfer comes out of nowhere, bang, it's gone. The world is gone. And then you have that beautiful moment with Johnny where he's gone, in his own time he's gone. And this is where you go, he's given Reed banter as a brother-in-law, but you can see there's a care where he's trying to work out what Silver Surfer obviously said to him when he went up to the board. And he goes, no, let him think, let him sort his life out, he's busy. I'm gonna take this on. As a family, I'm gonna take this on myself. This is my job. And he does a beautiful job. Fantastic, goes down, explains to her, and obviously she kicks off. And then you see, obviously, there's one moment left and one component that moves everyone there. And then they go, why don't we, Galactus has got to come here. Galactus has got to come here. We can't have us move the Earth, we've got to move Galactus. And he comes down and he looked awesome. He looks so good. Yeah, I think there's moments in this film where the CGI was dodgy, and there's one thing that I was like, CGI's out, and that was the baby. But if the baby looks awful, but you get the Thing right, you get the Silver Surfer right, and you get Galactus right, with all the other visuals going on, I'll allow a baby looking a bit dodgy. I'm okay, all right? I'll let it slide, Marvel. But obviously you have that moment and he comes down. Again, another thing. I don't know whether they're the only one that thought about that, but what was that thing with the Statue of Liberty? What was going on there? Like, what actually was that all about? It's like this. It was just mad. I was like, in the cinema, I went, boom, because I thought he was going to knock it clean out, but he didn't. He was like, all right. So, if anyone wants to explain what the connotations maybe after that moment, I'm down. I'm game to listen. I'm game. And again, it's a simple way of dealing with him. They put Franklin there to lure him there. He's going to get there. We'll wash him away. And obviously you see him go, no, that's not him. I've scanned it. He's over there. And then you go, whoa, like he's going after him. And then I panicked because then I thought H.E.R.B.I.E was going to die, because you see H.E.R.B.I.E doing the lullaby and then get together to look after. And I was like, if they kill H.E.R.B.I.E, I'm out. If they kill H.E.R.B.I.E, I'm gone. I'm going to cry. And they didn't. So thankfully Marvel did everything right and kept H.E.R.B.I.E alive. So thank you for Marvel for that. But moving on to obviously the battle. I thought it was done well. Again, simple. We didn't see huge, great big moments, but we saw exactly what they needed. We saw moments of peril with them all, but we also saw moments of them being cool. Like Mr. Fantastic stretching out and moving his way around and then doing that. And then we saw the benefit of that, him looking cool. But then the moment where obviously he's doing that and you go, oh no. And again with Sue. She kicked butt. Now I know what people are going to say. I know what people are exactly going to say to this point is, she's not powerful enough to do that. She's not. But the thing is, Marvel did it well because she wasn't powerful enough to do that, because it killed her. But also, I think people going, yeah, but she wouldn't have the power. Yes, in another world where she was fighting Galactus on a Tuesday 2 years before that without a baby, then yeah, she probably wouldn't be able to do it. But A, she didn't have the power because it killed her with it, but also maternal instinct kicks in, and as blokes where we go, blah, 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 we don't get it. We don't get that maternal side where it kicks in, that motherly nature kicks in, and she's going to do everything possible to protect her baby. So using all that power to defeat this great big God-eating thing, it's reality, because if you're a mother, you would do anything for your kids. You'd fight for everything to make sure they're okay. So that motherly side coming in, I thought worked and was perfect for that. And obviously we saw, the thing going, he's balancing on that, I'm going to go and crush, it's clobbering time. Love that moment of him going through the walls to stop the building staying up with him. And it just was done well. And then obviously we see her backfire. And then obviously the moment of, I think we've done it, boom! Oh, wow. We saw it coming. Yeah, we did, but wow. And then the moment where Johnny goes, tell him his Uncle Johnny loves him. And then you go, no, Johnny, no, don't do it. But we see that side of Johnny where he's going to go, he's prepared to give his life for his uncle. For his nephew, sorry. He's prepared to do that. And it's just gorgeously done. And obviously the moment of him going, and then all of a sudden, bang! Cinema explodes. Silver Surfer realises what she's done is wrong, and she maintains it, gets Galactus through. And I like the fact that they put them in a world or in a place where they're not dead. Both of them can come back. And I think that's a great thing for Marvel, because I think she's a character that I think we could still see a lot from and the development in. But also Galactus, that's a top villain that is just there whenever Marvel need him to be. And I think that is a great thing. And now, the all-powerful baby. Yes, Franklin the baby saves the day, stops Sue from dying, or brings her back to life. And then you're thinking, this is a baby with the power we knew about, but we've seen it executed now. You know, he has just brought her back to life. And I think it's excitement throughout where we're going to see this go. And the post-credit scene obviously shows where an idea of what they're going to do with Franklin is. But what you have here is a kid that's got godlike power and has the ability to use his skills and pocket universes creation. And it's incredible what Marvel can actually do with this character as well. And why the post-credit scene makes sense that he's there with. And now the post-credit scene. And this is my reaction in the cinema. If you got CCTV, that's what you'd see. It was, wow, so good. So good. Doom. Oh my word. Doom is there. And okay, look, I've seen a lot of people say, I don't think the post-credit was anything spectacular. There's criticism of it, but I think for what it needed to be, I thought it was okay. I think we all know that obviously Doom's coming in, so the reaction to Doom being there was, to some people might have been, well, we know he's coming anyway, so it wasn't that thing. But live a little, lads. Live a little. This is the first time in the whole of this franchise that we've seen Doctor Doom. The only criticism I've seen of that scene where I go, I do agree, and whether it could improve, is obviously the moment where you see Doom with the cloak, the mask is off. I would have loved a little bit of cheek. I would have loved a bit of RDJ. I would love to have seen a bit of just that, an eye. Give me an eye. Give me something where I go, oh, that's him. But I think they're saving that for another day. I think they're saving the reveal of Doom for a big moment. And if it's a moment where we see him revealed to Spider-Man or Thor or someone like that, or Doctor Strange even, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that being the moment. But I feel like that was a moment where I think Marvel could have gone, this is the chance to show Robert Downey Jr. to the world. And they didn't, which means the hood was up for a reason. And if it's for a specific reason, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. Now, another thing that I said afterwards, where I went, I'm glad the post-credits didn't link. And what I've seen some people say is there wasn't a link between the the post-credit in Thunderbolts with obviously the ship heading to Earth, 616, and there wasn't a link between the post-credit with that. But there's an idea of where they could go. I'm actually for that not linking, because it means now we don't know who is on that ship or where it's going. Well, we know where it's going, but who is on that ship and who it possesses. Could it be Doom and Franklin? Could it be Doom? Could it be them? Or could it be another Fantastic Four? And I'm happy with that not being known yet. And I'm happy for that to be revealed in Doomsday. More than happy for me to wait on that. So there's a link, but it's an unknown link, which I think is okay. In my personal opinion anyway. I think we come to a point now where I think, to talk about it as a whole again, to round this episode off, I think it was a good film. I think it was a very good film. I think it's the most Marvel I've felt watching a film for a very, very long time. I think Guardians 3 was great and emotional and was top tier, but it didn't give me that Marvel pit in my stomach where I felt like I was watching a comic book movie, in my personal preference anyway. Guardians was perfect, and it was perfect being exactly what it was. But I think this was very superhero comic book Marvel return, and I loved it for that. The effects in it were superb. I loved the throughout of the storyline. The characters developed beautifully well. The casting was excellent, and I think they've left it in a good place. The only thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to do this on another video coming out soon, is I just wish there was more. I wish we'd had another film beforehand, and maybe another film, and had a trilogy of Fantastic Four before we get to the big motion picture, which is Doomsday and Secret Wars. I would love to have seen more. I would love to see more of them doing other missions without it being mad, and now we're here to the big thing. And I feel like this is a question with Marvel where we're going to do on another episode where we go, have Marvel left it too late? And are these projects coming out now too late and not enough of them? It's that thing of going with Thunderbolts. Great movie. Would love to see a film with them being the new Avengers up against the Avengers before Doomsday comes in. But again, we'll talk about that on another video. But I think it was charming. It was beautifully executed, and I'm happy with it. And it was fantastic. I think a special shout out to Mole Man as well, who I think character was a bit of a side character, but was just done perfectly, woven into the fabric of this film, and his moment came and he sold it. And you speak to any actor, if you're in a film for 2 minutes and people remember you and love you for it, what a job amongst all these other greats. So great respect to him. And again, I think this movie, solid 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I loved it for what it was. And I cannot wait to see where we go next with the Fantastic Four as a team and where we go with Marvel next. But we'll do that in another video soon. But I hope you enjoyed that. I'm not the most clued on Marvel fan in terms of I know all the finer details. And yes, you could probably go onto other podcasts and get detail to the extreme, but I'm never going to give that. I'm not that kind of person. So I'm just going to execute it and show what I felt of it in my own little way. But I'm happy with that. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. And don't forget to, if you haven't already, to subscribe to this channel to make it bigger and better and go where we want to go with this channel. I'd love to see more subscribers so I can do live videos as well. So I need to get over that benchmark. So keep with me and we'll be all right. But I'll see you soon on the next video. We're going to do lots of Marvel film stuff as well to go along with what we're doing on this channel. So stay tuned for that. See you later, everyone. Goodbye. Marvel is back.